In the headlines, survivors recount horror as death toll climbs in Niger tanker explosion. High transport costs force drop in class attendance at Gombe State University. NDLEA intercepts cocaine shipment, arrests India-based nursing student. On the foreign scene, first United Nations aid trucks enter Gaza following ceasefire agreement. Hello there, good evening and welcome to the news update on Trust TV. I am Aisha Salihu. Thank you for joining us. The news in detail. President Bola Tinubu will set up a high-powered committee to investigate the recurrence of tanker explosions and implement safety measures to forestall the tragedy. The Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, stated this on Sunday at the palace of the Emir of Suleja, where he visited to commiserate with victims of Saturday's tanker explosion in Dikko Junction in the Gurara local government area of Niger State. He said members of the committee would be drawn from the Ministry of Information and National Orientation, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Tanker Drivers Association, and other stakeholders. The minister also said enlightenment campaigns on safe movement of fuel tankers, road safety habits, and the dangers of scooping leaked fuel would be carried out by his ministry. Mohammed was accompanied to the state by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Nentawe Yewata, and top government officials. The delegation also planned to visit various hospitals in Suleja, where 55 individuals were rushed for urgent medical attention. The delegation will also plan to visit the Dikko Junction, which is now a grim reminder of the potential dangers posed by fuel tankers of Nigeria roads. In other developments, there is increasing concern over the declining number of students attending lectures at Gombe State University, with many citing the rising cost of transportation as a significant barrier. Students have expressed frustration, stating that the high cost of commuting has placed a strain on their finances, making it difficult for them to attend classes regularly. Hassan Koli has the details.
The decline in lecture attendance has sparked conversations among both students and lecturers. Many students shared that the escalating transport fares have made it harder for them to maintain regular attendance.
The transportation to take me from my area where I stay to the university is 400 naira. So to and fro cost me about 1,000 naira. And we are talking about that. And I used to have lectures from Monday to Saturday ideally. But you see, when I stay at house, I have to cut the days of my lectures because I cannot afford 6,000 naira in a week. This we are talking about over 20,000 naira. And as someone that is being sponsored by somebody, and I'm not the only one being sponsored.
I used to trek before I come to school. In year back, I used to pay 100 naira at school, but now I used to pay even 600 before I come to school. So my guardians are not financially enough to pay my transport fees.
Lecturers have also raised concerns, noting the negative impact that drop in attendance could have on students' academic performance.
Anyway, we may not say specifically this is the cost, but when we inquire from the student, if we are able to find out that they are experiencing some hardship or some problems, we try to fix lectures at their own convenience, you understand? But still, actually, the trend is on a worrisome level, and if there is a way distance can be abated, I think there is need for that, because actually it's affecting the quality of the learning process, because at the end of the day you find our students attending few lectures instead of the recommended ones that they're supposed to be attending.
While some students expect the university or government to intervene, the student union has encouraged students to explore alternative options, a stance that has sparked mixed reactions.
We will not say we need government fully intervene to address our day-to-day activity. It cannot be possible. But we need government to intervene in some aspect, while in some certain aspect, we will try to do our best to look at the means just to address them amicably.
As the debate continues, the future of academic engagement at the university remains uncertain, leaving many to wonder how this issue will evolve in the coming months. Hassan Koli, Trust TV News, Gombe.
Now, a day after the devastating tanker explosion in Dikko, Gurara local government area, Niger State, families of the victims are still in anguish, with many desperately searching for their missing loved ones. At the Suleja General Hospital, 43 victims remain in critical condition, with 2 confirmed dead after admission. The explosion, which claimed numerous lives and left many others severely injured, is a tragic reminder of the ever-present dangers on Nigeria's roads. Victims included travelers and bystanders who were simply going about their daily routines when the inferno engulfed them. Survivors, many still hospitalized, along with families and traders, share heart-wrenching accounts of the horrific ordeal. At Suleja General Hospital, the situation remains critical. Dr. Adedoku Adebayo Adekunle, the medical director, reported that most burn victims are in dire need of specialized care and will need to be transferred to advanced treatment centers due to the severity of their injuries. And now to security matters. The Katsina State Police Command on Saturday announced the neutralization of 7 suspected bandits during a failed attack on Ruwan Dorowa village, Dusima local government area on January 18, 2025. Police received a distress call about an armed bandit attack at 9 a.m. and quickly mobilized a response team, including the military, DSS and local security groups. The ensuing gun battle led to the death of 7 bandits, with the survivors fleeing and leaving behind 109 rustled animals, 61 cows, 44 sheep, 2 donkeys, 1 goat and 1 dog. State Police Commissioner CP Aliyu Bubakar Musa praised the operatives for their bravery and professionalism and urged the public to continue supporting the fight against crime with timely information. Elsewhere, the Plateau State Police Command has paraded 44 suspected members of Sarasuka Group and prostitutes in various communities of Jos North and Jos South local government area of the state. According to the State Police Commissioner, Emmanuel Adesina, the arrest followed concerted efforts by the police to mitigate criminal activities in the state. The Plateau State Police Command has said it has carried out a raid operation on various black spots within the Jos Bukuru metropolis and arrested about the suspects, including male and female. Parading the suspects at the headquarters of the command, the spokesperson of the command, DSP Alabo Alfred, said the success followed their efforts to rid the state of all criminal elements. Speaking at the command, the State Commissioner for Women Affairs stated that the state would not tolerate any activity regarding prostitution and warned intending persons to desist from such activities.
Today we are parading some suspects that were arrested somewhere in different spots in Rifi, and for several offenses, for inciting the public against the police, and also for peddling themselves in several things that they were doing regarding prostitution, indecent behavior in around our environs.
Now, operatives of the Department of State Services have arrested 10 suspected members of Boko Haram in Ilesha, Osun State. Olawale Rashid, the spokesperson for the state governor, Ademola Adeleke, said the suspects were members of Boko Haram and Islamic State's West Africa province. He said the state government would continue to cooperate with security agencies and support their operations to ensure maximum protection of lives and property of Osun people. He charged residents of Osun State to continue to be watchful and report any suspicious activity in their neighborhoods to relevant security agencies. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency intercepted a major drug trafficking attempt involving 26-year-old Esther Onyinyechi Uzodinma, a nursing student from India. Esther was caught attempting to ingest 76 wraps of cocaine weighing 1.34 kilogram hours before her return flight to India on January 17, 2025. She was arrested at the Royal Park Hotel in Kano on January 16, 2025, after her supplier Cosmos Okore was caught transporting the drugs concealed in an audio speaker. Esther, who was recruited by an international drug cartel, claimed she was promised $5,000 for smuggling the cocaine back to India. She had been staying in Nigeria for the holidays to avoid detection by her family and was set to swallow the drugs before boarding her flight. In addition to this arrest, NDLEA operatives seized large quantities of illicit substances across Nigeria. In Kogi, 4 suspects were arrested with over 38,000 tramadol pills. In Lagos, raids led to the seizure of 4.9 kilograms of synthetic cannabis, over 1,600 kilograms of skunk and other drugs, while 28 kilograms of Canadian loud was seized in Lekki. Other major busts took place in Kano, Kwara, Taraba and the FCT, with arrests including those of suspects carrying cocaine, tramadol and codeine syrup. NDLEA's efforts to combat drug trafficking are supported by ongoing awareness campaigns across the country, with recent sensitization events in schools, communities and workplaces. NDLEA Chairman Brigadier General Muhammad Buba Marwa, retired, commended the agency's officers and urged continued vigilance in the fight against drug abuse. Now, the presidency on Saturday night denied reports making the round that it forced former President Muhammadu Buhari or any Nigerian to testify in an arbitration proceeding taking place in Paris. On Saturday evening, an online news platform had reported that former President Buhari had been summoned before a court in Paris to testify in an arbitration proceeding over the $6 billion Mambila power contract dispute. But in a swift reaction, Bayo Onanuga, special advisor to the president on information and strategy, in a statement said that was not true but did not deny the existence of such a case. Onanuga in the statement said the private proceeding, which should not have been reported in the media, is entirely confidential until the international arbitrators decide. The presidential spokesman also said President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has not forced anyone to testify for or to refrain from testifying against Nigeria. The statement added that all the eminent Nigerians involved in Nigeria's defense are doing so willingly and out of sheer patriotism and conviction. President Tinubu and the entire country are grateful to them. This is the news update coming to you from Trust TV. Coming up ahead. Nigerians react to CBN sanction over naira scarcity. Plenty more stories after the break. We'll be right back. Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. Here is a recap of some of our top stories. We told you that survivors recount horror as death toll climbs in Niger tanker explosion. Plus, high transport costs force drop in class attendance at Gombe State University. Moving on to other stories. Reactions have continued to pour in following the recent Central Bank of Nigeria sanctions imposed on some Nigerian commercial banks over lingering issues related to the cashless policy. This is as many Nigerians have expressed frustration with what they perceive as inconsistent government policies and programs. Trust TV's Adamu Imam spoke to Bauchi residents about the issue and filed this report.
Commercial banks serve as intermediaries between their numerous customers and the CBN, facilitating secure and safe transactions for both individuals and businesses. However, Nigerians are increasingly unhappy with the inability to readily access their funds held in banks.
What they mean by enough cash may not really necessarily be enough at the banks. The population has increased, everything has increased, the demand for cash has increased. What was attainable at 5,000 naira in the last 2 years, with 20,000 now you cannot get it.
As the banks at times claim that they don't have enough fund, and then CBN is saying that they're giving the banks enough use of enough fund. So we have to find the balancing equation. So the two have to be identified. And my prayers is for CBN to all it could to continue to be providing the banks with enough funds so that the money will circulate.
I see no reason why somebody has his money in the bank. You go to the bank to withdraw, let me say 100,000 for instance, and you cannot. I was in the bank when somebody's in one of the banks, commercial banks, and they were telling me that he cannot withdraw more than 20,000. He was very angry. He told them that he has his wedding or something to go and attend, and they have to meet needs for guests and other things. How can he come with his money? So I don't know. I was told that it was a policy that was introduced for certain reasons. I don't know. For me personally, when you want to introduce policy, you should consider the impact on the citizen, and then you should also do a lot of sensitization.
You can make a queue for more than an hour, but to tell you, sometimes your turn will come and then there will be no money in that ATM. You waste a lot of time, and at the end, you have not gotten what you want. So most of the things, if you really want to satisfy your urgent need, you need to go to POS operators, point of sales. You only go there, you give them a token, then maybe it's a kind of business strategy that will allow other people to earn from that transaction, or I don't know. It sounds like that.
Some Nigerians believe the CBN's cashless policy aim at curbing inflation by reducing the circulation of physical currency is detrimental to the current economic situation. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
In business, the Export-Import Bank of the United States has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Nigerian Export-Import Bank that will deepen collaboration and trade ties between the United States and Nigeria. The agreement was signed by Exim President and Chair Retta Joe Lewis on behalf of Export-Import Bank of United States, while Abba Bello, Managing Director and Chief Executive of Nexim, signed on behalf of the Nigerian Export-Import Bank. During the signing ceremony, Exim President and Chair Retta Joe Lewis highlights increased opportunities for United States exports to Nigeria in critical minerals, clean energy, aviation, and infrastructure. Also, Nexim MD Abba Bello highlights that the partnership is a significant milestone for Nigeria and the United States that will provide increased access to trade financing for Nigerian businesses whilst facilitating smoother and more robust mutually beneficial trade flows between the two countries. The MOU demonstrates a shared desire to identify and promote trade and economic cooperation between the two countries. And now to developments away from Nigeria. Trucks carrying humanitarian aid entered Gaza shortly after a truce between Israel and Hamas went into effect on Sunday morning, the United Nations said. As part of the ceasefire deal, 3 female hostages are expected to be released later in the day in exchange for 90 Palestinian prisoners, mostly women and young people. The ceasefire was set for 8:30 a.m. local time, but was delayed after Israel refused to let the truce begin until it had received the names of the 3 female hostages to be released later on Sunday. The first phase of the 3-part truce calls for an initial 6-week ceasefire, the staggered release of 33 hostages held by Hamas, and the release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners in Israel. The hostages set for release include women, children, and the elderly and wounded. The fate of the remaining 98 Israeli hostages has yet to be agreed. Phase 1 includes a partial withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza to allow a surge of humanitarian aid into the enclave. Israel and Hamas also agreed to begin talks aimed at finding a permanent end to the war. An Israeli official has confirmed that Romy Gonen, 24, Emily Damari, 28, and Doron Steinbrecher, 31, will be the first hostages released on Sunday. The official, who spoke on condition of anonymity in line with regulations, said their families had approved the publication of their names. And lastly, in sports, the Nigeria Volleyball Federation has announced the appointment of Elishama Elam as the new head coach of the national senior women's national team. Elam, who was a former under-19 women's national team coach, will be assisted by Shegun Abinde and Chinyere Onuoha. Commenting on the appointment, President of NVBF Musa Nimrod said the women's team did not meet expectations despite the support they got from the federation and other stakeholders. Speaking on his appointment, Elam said the goal is to take Nigerian women's volleyball to the next level. On that exciting note, that's about it on the news update at this moment on Trust TV. Remember, you can always follow us across all of our social media platforms and also join our YouTube live stream for more news, programs, and documentary. I am Aisha Salihu. Thank you so much for watching. Join us again.